and we'll tell a couple of others in between time. Stand together with me, please, one more time. And we just prayed, but we're going to pray again. Our loving Heavenly Father, thank you very much for the opportunity to be among youth. It is a privilege to be great in here. And Lord, I know that I have been in their shoes at one point. And I pray, Lord, that you would not let them take as many years as it took.
And they pull up behind a truck or a big tractor, and several of those coming too, and some horse coaches that you saw earlier. And anyway, so we came from this little fishing village. And like I said, we went and did some visiting. And so we went out to his home and we visited his family. And a precious family, very sweet, just living very humbly, just so thrilled that you can come into their house. Just to have you come into their house is so wonderful for them. And we spoke with his mother, and she was very open with us. It's one thing I really love about the Cuban people. We went to the clinic to have the baby aborted, and there were several women in front of her. When her time came, she went up and got up on the table, and they had a lamp there, you know, for the doctor to use. And he's getting ready to do the procedure, and the light just exploded all over the room, just exploded. And he got really mad, really intensely mad at the physician, and he just couldn't believe that this happened. How am I going to do my work without this light? And he was just fuming and fussing and just about throwing things. He was so upset. And so she sat up on the table, and she looked at him and she goes, I know why this happened. And she got up and she walked out. And praise the Lord, her son asks you to bring down a teddy bear or a toy, it would be a gold mine. Just some fortunate little child. But anyway, so we were there visiting, and of course we invited the children to come. And as soon as we walked in the door, the father left. But he had somebody visiting with him. There was a man in the communist uniform that came in at the house and was in there talking with him. And so Norbert's stepdad walked out of the house, and the communist man left when we got there. And one of the Bible workers that was visiting with us followed his stepdad out the back side of the yard, and he said, VBS, and we just came to invite you two and your wife. And he said, well, I would love to come, but I can't, not now. But I don't mind my children coming. I'm very happy that they're coming. And the Bible worker said, would you be interested in a Bible? And he said, oh, yes, I would. And so they were able to give him a Bible before we left. And his wife, they're sharing that Bible. She's interested too. She has a very good job. She works for the government as a manager in a store. And so she's kind of wants to be baptized, but she doesn't want to lose her good job. So we need to really pray for her. And so here Norbert's coming to the meetings and his house. And so he said, no, I don't think so. And they said, no, come on. And, you know, they pressured him, and he came. So he went to the party. And then while he's there, the same boys that invited him to the party said, look at you, Norbert. Here you are at this party. So you obviously like parties more than you do church. Now what are you going to do? Now what are you going to say? You said you wanted to get baptized, but look at you. You're at a party. But working in Africa, and it's a real love for missions. And anyway, he was there teaching us a field school in evangelism while we were giving evangelism. And so anyway, you basically have to go the next day after they miss, really to pull their hearts back in. And so praise the Lord, we were taught that. And it's just me and Yubi and a couple people that were helping from the church, but honestly, they really weren't helping that much. They were kind of sitting in the back going, sit down, sit down. You know, they were just sitting like this after school. And the Lord's niece, children, and we pushed him in the corner, and she held him down, and I held him down. Please, don't leave. God, studies and stuff I want to be. But no, you can't. And there is a seminary here in Cuba that you could go to when you, instead of just saying, oh, this is normal. This is what happens sometimes. You know, people decided they wanted to get baptized, and some of those children want to be more intense for Jesus and not just lukewarm, because I really, and he is on fire for the Lord.
Oh, you left? Okay, no worries. All right, and not us. So we're here, you know, it'd be nice if Wemark was here telling this story, a coordinator, and we have regional leaders. Someone came to us and said, have you not? So, you know, it's not always easy to do the work of the Lord. We came down for the campaign. His name is Walkus. We said, where's Walkus? Well, he came home, and he has a teenager his way there, so, you know, we were out about $10 or $15. It was the last night. And the individual made the call, just don't want to leave town without no, what am I looking at myself for? And I walked up, and we had the privilege of baptizing Walkus. And what he said, I'm just the happiest man. And he lost his job, and they just accepted everything, and they were baptized, and now they've accepted the call.
There are a few things with you that are, but every day can be exciting. Even though interest in Cuba came from, you've heard of Your Story Hour? There was a video my grandma gave me when I was a little boy, it was called From Cuba with Love. It was made, we read a book called I Will Die Free by Humberto Noble Alexander. Anyone heard of the book? If you read the book just before you go to Cuba, it might send some tingles through you. So it might not be a good idea. But it was years before, and then I put the two and two together after I went to Cuba. Anyway, I was always wanted to be a missionary, and so in 2006, I was blessed to go to medical missionary training out in Tennessee, Meat Ministry, Brother Jackson, and 2006, and I took his 3 months intensive course in medical missionary work, agriculture, and the moose. Actually, they witnessed to me, but we had I didn't expect what I was going up there for. I was thinking I was going to be adventure, right? In a mission pilot, in a little mission plane going over to native villages. But it turned out a lot different from the way I thought. But the Lord gave me important training there, and then after 4 months, my aunt gave me a call, and my aunt and uncle, they're pastors, my uncle's a pastor, Cottonwood, Arizona, and he said, we're getting a group together to go to Cuba. And so I always like challenges, and I said, yeah, let's go. So I later, people had a translator. So I didn't have too much of a way to communicate at that time. I just kind of motioned to the teachers of the various classes, and they figured it out and basically did everything. Until a couple days later, one of the young people, he was 2 years older than me, Rolando, and he came back. He knew quite a lot of English and was able to translate for me. And so we became best of friends. You'll always find that if you don't know the language you're going to, you're going to be best of friends with your translator, because that's your mouth and your brain almost with, you know, communicating with the people. And the people that go with their teams very carefully. So you have to stay with the group, and there's not as much interaction, personal interaction with the people in the towns. There's not as much visiting as what I've seen with Henry and Arlene's groups. The first group I was with, their team actually was in Hatoy, Cuba, with the senior class of Oklahoma Academy. I was there as a translator, and I don't remember what year that was.
2013.
12, 13. Okay, you were there on that team? Anyway, that to me was just an eye-opener of what you can do with a group down in Cuba and have so much interaction. So I went to Cuba the first time, and at the end of those 3 weeks, I had barely done anything with young people, but there were teenage boys at the last day, last Sabbath, coming to me, hugging me, tears just pouring down their eyes. You know, you gave so much to us, you helped us so much, and it really touched my heart. And then the lady who directed the young people there, she said, she kind of gave me a challenge. She said, don't forget us, because 2 years ago there was a Sam Sherham team that came down just like y'all, and they had the same meetings, and we said, please don't forget us, because Cuba is very closely united in finding felts and books and whatnot to take back to Cuba. And lo and behold, I was there 3 months later by myself to that same church. But looked for a license. They're supposed to have a travel visa with the United States government, and I couldn't find any travel visa. I contacted the people whose visa we used the first time, and he said, no, you can't use it. It's been abused by other people. They started copying it and selling it and whatnot. No, you can't use it. And so I went to my Bible and I said, it says, go ye into all the world. And all the world includes Cuba. And even if the United States gives a huge fine, because the government in Cuba makes their money from tourism. That's the main way they make money, from foreigners. And so if you're trying to bypass their laws, then they're, yeah, angry at you, but they're angry at the people who help you too. So he'd take me around visiting all the churches on a motorbike, which, you know, they didn't want me to do that either. So we got to kind of bypass the police stations and whatnot. They have signals that, oh, is there police around or whatever, and then you can go the other way if they do. And he got a lot of white hairs from me, I think, because he had his wife and family the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. So I memorized that on the flight home in Spanish and English. You're going in and you're coming out from this time forth and forevermore. And the Lord helped me to get back in without any difficulty. And I was just so amazed. But at the end, before I left, they got this journal and wrote all what they, you know, the youth group got together and were sharing things. And my translator wrote in English, he said, 3 months ago when your whole team came, you know, probably not too many people remember all the preachings and the sermons. You know, I wanted to go back again. My parents, I was 20, I was still at home, but I was in my early 20s. And my dad was encouraging me, you know, just work and send money down. Maybe you've heard that before, you know, send money. It costs a lot of money to go, so you can save that money and send it. And I've asked people down there, would it have meant more to you if I had sent money, or did it mean more to have a face on it? You know, to go there personally and experience life down there and share what you can, it's much better. What if Jesus had written a check for $1 zillion, right? Infinite amount of money, and just say, here, I bought your pardon. Here, Satan, give them all back. That wouldn't have meant much to us. We wouldn't have much Gospels to read in the Bible. with 2 suitcases, each weighing 70 pounds, and a backpack 85 pounds, full of books, and stuff to help the people down there. Bibles. It was right after Hurricane Ike. You hear me on waving his mic, right? Right after Hurricane Ike, and houses were destroyed, people had lost everything, and I got an email from my friend, our friend Roland, that translates for me, and he said, you're going to have to be really smart not to be found as a helper to Cuba. Because we had a Cuban that lives in the States come back, and he realized everybody was hungry, and he started, freedom, and all the good things come from fidelity. We don't think that, but there's people that still think that and believe that because they're deceived. So, anyway, they were proud, and so I was like, Lord, I can't get by with all these suitcases and look all so smart and be able to get through looking like some tourist guy. You know, what tourist carries so much weight with them to Cuba? So I oiled the wheels on my suitcases and tried to get them all so they'd roll real smooth. And, yeah, it was something else. It was heavy. But I get to the counter in Canada Air or whatever, and I'm seeing the lady, one particular lady, treating everybody really hard. I said, Lord, how can I get down this weight? You know, are you going to throw Bibles out to not have to pay $425? I had just come from some work, so I did have a little extra money this trip, and I could have just chucked it out, and, hope I could get through the trip. But I was just thinking later, I was reflecting on this Bible has cost blood, tears, prayers. People have handwritten it. The Waldenses died for it. And 30 Bibles into Cuba, that's a pretty small price, $425. So I paid her and was on my way. But that wasn't the end. Thou art my hiding place and my shield. I hope in thy word. Have you ever hung your life on a Bible verse?
Yes.
Yes. You might have to go into Cuba this time, but I hope you do it before then so that you can have some experience. Anyway, the Lord helps me to get just right through without being seen and protected or whatever, and get those Bibles to people that needed them. One was a bank guard. Went in the bank, changed money. He's got his gun on his belt. And I just struck up a conversation with him. Why don't you carry extra bullets in your belt there? Here they don't need them. Nobody cares about that. I just got to talking with him, and I was able later to make friends with him. My digestion stopped for the first week. It was so stressful for me. I could not. I was like, this is communism. I'm here by myself. I couldn't speak the language. Then I got sick and was hospitalized. Nobody around that knew my language. They're talking about all these new words I don't know, and I'm burning up fever. And the Lord sent this verse to me, and I want you to remember this. Genesis 28:16. I got a call from the seminary principal who said I got an email at the school, and he was trying to read it to me in English, but he only speaks Spanish, right? But he read this verse to me. Someone sent. They didn't know. He had just had the dream of the ladder. That room and the rest of I spent a whole week there. I'm forgetting. It turned from 2 days or 3 days a weekend into a week. And I had never spent a week indoors in my life. I'm an outdoors person. And so that became just a new start for me. The Lord was in this place, even though I didn't know. And you might find yourself in that situation.